Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 117 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Every bit of energy Luo Feng possessed contained potent spirituality and his spiritual will. Even when unleashing the Origin Great Destruction, he could still reclaim 20% of his energy reserve. I was lucky to win this time. Luo Feng, clad in a blood-red robe, reflected on the previous battle and had to admit that the third sculpture had comprehensively surpassed his current self. According to the ancestors of the endless primordial space, reaching such a level, they would already be undying and immortal. No matter how much he utilized the Origin Great Destruction, it posed no threat. It's because the 7 sculptures were a test, they all had the energy core as a weakness, giving him the slim chance of victory. My blade technique still cannot match the power of Origin Great Destruction. There's a significant difference, Luo Feng thought. With his blade technique, Luo Feng was on the same level as Starlight and Shoju. But a move of the Origin Great Destruction's level could heavily injure the 3 giant god emperors and over 20 ancestors. This move caused chaos in the innate primordial camp's army, ultimately deciding to cease fighting. This time, Luo Feng again relied on this move to narrowly defeat the third sculpture. Sadly, once such a move is seen, it won't foolishly work again. Sigh? Luo Feng took a step forward, approaching the mountain of destruction, and reached out to touch it once more. This time the touch again underwent hatred, killing intent, and numerous scenarios impacting his soul, which made Luo Feng's expression colder. After enduring the impact, he sensed the destruction fruit, treasures, and other information. Now I can obtain 3 destruction fruits and can exchange them for other treasures. Treasures exchanged for 3 destruction fruits, are such treasures even exchangeable? Luo Feng was quite surprised. 1 destruction fruit can make a life core evolve in a destruction direction to a certain extent, or it can be exchanged for a treasure on the level of Kafou's battle armor. Treasures exchanged for 3 destruction fruits undergo a qualitative change. Enough to excite any ancestor or lord. Of the treasures exchangeable, there are 6 in total, choose any one of them. A seed, a stone, a drop of water, a cluster of flame, a blob of golden liquid, a ray of colored light. These 6 treasures are mysterious lands yet to grow, considered in their embryonic form. The reason they haven't matured is that they each only nurture 1 type of highest level power. That seed, in Luo Feng's perception, had an endless intense vitality and toughness. It contained a kind of supreme life power. That stone was extremely stable and immovable. It contained some supreme defensive power. The latter 4 corresponded to water, fire, matter, and light types of highest level power. These 6 treasures, though undergoing gestation in the endless primordial space, haven't grown into true mysterious lands. But in their most primitive form, they can be refined and carried around. Luo Feng understood this from the sensed information. A formed mysterious land, even a relatively ordinary one like the Blood Crane territory, is enormous. It took Luo Feng 10 eras to move it from its original position to beside the origin continent Origin World. Some particularly massive ones cannot be moved. This embryonic form mysterious land, however, can be carried around with no burden. A formed mysterious land, even if refined and controlled, only all its power can be utilized within its boundaries. Once outside, only partial strength can be borrowed from afar, increasing one's power by 30% at best. But this embryonic form, since it can merge into the body and be carried around, allows full power utilization. Even if only nurturing 1 type of highest level power, once all power can be borrowed, it is still greatly beneficial to oneself. Because it's borrowed. There isn't deep research into this power, unlike those ancestors who delve into a type of supreme power for their whole lives. It is estimated that 70 or 60% of the power can be exerted. If I were to choose, I would definitely pick the one that aligns with life and destruction more closely. My defensive ability is already strong enough, so I definitely prefer the one strong in offensive capabilities. The latter 3 treasures would all be helpful to me. The Supreme Flame, paired with life and destruction, will surely enhance destructive power. The golden liquid, flowing like a sharp blade, seems like a natural weapon. It contains a kind of highest-level matter power, which is also beneficial to me. The key is that in terms of enlightenment, beyond life and destruction, my third best area is the Tao of matter. Of course, comprehending the Tao of matter is hundreds of millions of times more challenging than life and destruction. The ray of colored light contains some light power. Once mastered, I will possess the ubiquitous ability, the blade technique will be omnipresent, and it should have the same certain hit ability as Ming Huang. The blade power could also increase. In terms of power enhancement, the ray of colored light should help the most. But from a long-term perspective, from the angle of enlightenment, the golden liquid suits better. Luo Feng thought for a moment. No rush, once I create the primordial blade path, perhaps I can try to defeat the fourth sculpture. By then, obtaining another destruction fruit should allow for better treasures. Luo Feng contemplated for a while, then looked toward the fourth sculpture. It was a giant cube composed of 125 smaller cubes. It should be much stronger than the third sculpture. I expect I would lose quite badly. Luo Feng predicted, but still walked towards these sculptures. While researching treasure information, his body had already returned to the pinnacle state. The previous 3 sculptures had completely fallen silent. The fourth sculpture, a massive cube, suddenly began emanating an aura, much stronger than the Demon Ruins aura, with invisible waves locking onto Luo Feng. Luo Feng wielded the sky-splitting saber, ready to face it with all his might. Abyss of Destruction, 19th layer. Yuan suddenly sensed a space-time fluctuation, a familiar figure crossing time and space to arrive on this layer. At this moment, Luo Feng seemed somewhat desolate, with less than 10% of his energy reserve remaining, extremely feeble. Luo Feng. Yuan immediately came forward, asking urgently, "Where did you go before, staying away for over 30 eras?" "It was a hidden space-time in the Abyss of Destruction," Luo Feng said with a smile. "Later, I'll record all the information about this hidden space-time and place it in the land of origin. There's no need to keep this opportunity a secret from the other lords. However, the threshold for entering is extremely high. Including himself, only 3 so-called ultimate life forms have ever entered." "All right." Yuan nodded with a smile, still very curious about this opportunity. Kafu and Luo Feng both encountered opportunities on the 19th layer of the Abyss of Destruction. As the master of this layer, he was naturally very curious about this hidden space-time, wondering why he had never been able to enter. "Why is your aura so weak?" Yuan asked. "Is it very dangerous there?" He was well aware of how strong Luo Feng's defensive capabilities were, especially after mastering the Blood Crane territory. His ability to preserve his life had significantly increased. Yet now, with less than 10% energy reserve, the weakness of his aura could hardly be concealed. "It's not really dangerous, I ended up like this by pushing myself too hard," Luo Feng smiled, saying it was just a test there. Yuan understood. "Are you planning to continue your seclusion, or proceed to the next layer?" "I'll stay here for a while," Luo Feng said. Yuan nodded and stopped disturbing Luo Feng. Inside the cave mansion on the 19th layer of the Abyss of Destruction, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, his mind revisiting the scenes of his previous battle with the fourth sculpture. He had lost terribly. Crushed overwhelmingly. Completely powerless to fight back. He could only rely on his defensive abilities to resist, but this kind of pure beating was very frustrating for Luo Feng. He found a single opportunity and unleashed an origin great destruction, but amidst the massive explosion, the enormous cube split into 125 smaller cubes and dispersed, with only 9 of them being annihilated, while the others remained intact. And the 9 annihilated small cubes quickly reformed, completely undamaged. After unleashing the origin great destruction, his power plummeted, ultimately being repeatedly struck by the 125 cubes. When his energy reserve dropped below 10%, Luo Feng fled directly. After leaving a mark on the mountain of destruction, he could descend with an avatar or go there in his true body, and leave with his true body. Luo Feng was unwilling to be completely annihilated, so he chose to flee. With close to 10% of his energy reserve, he could recover to a pinnacle state, which would take about 15 minutes Earth time. If he were blasted into annihilation, recovery would be much more troublesome. My current true strength is much lower than that of the third sculpture. In front of the fourth sculpture, I have no power to resist, Luo Feng thought. Trying to master the abyss of destruction is indeed extremely difficult. In the endless primordial space, among the top mysterious lands, mastering the refining difficulty of each is extremely high, and sometimes, the refining method can't even be found. Luo Feng immediately split his thoughts and recorded the intelligence of the mountain of destruction, reserving it in the land of origin for inspection by the lords only. The latest intelligence on the abyss of destruction? Mo Man noticed this new intelligence the moment Luo Feng stored it, and began reading it. Apart from the power details of the fourth sculpture and the details of the combat process, Luo Feng detailed everything about the mountain of destruction. By passing the 7 layers of test, one can command the abyss of destruction. Mo Man's eyes lit up, finally knowing how to refine and master the mysterious land of the abyss of destruction. Including Luo Feng, only 3 have ever entered. The 7 sculptures, the first sculpture's power is comparable to the infinite ancestor before his breakthrough. The second sculpture, comparable to 2 infinite snake ancestors joining forces. The third sculpture even suppressed Luo Feng. Lord Mo Man trembled slightly as he read this intelligence. Though passing some tests could yield destruction fruits, which could be exchanged for treasures with greater lure, the difficulty of these 7 sculptures tests was excessively high. Jin brother, take a look at this intelligence, recorded by our brother Luo Feng. You must find it very interesting. Lord Mo Man immediately contacted Jin. Jin immediately began reviewing this intelligence. He was indeed very interested in the abyss of destruction. Each layer of the destruction world contained a type of power of destruction, and Jin always thought that the abyss of destruction was worth his effort. So, this is the method to refine and master the abyss of destruction, Jin reflected on the intelligence. 7 layers of test, and the opponent in the first test is comparable to the past infinite ancestor. Jin's heart shook. Before the infinite ancestor's breakthrough, he was on the 14th layer of the abyss of destruction, while Jin was on the 12th layer. Though the infinite ancestor had the advantage of being the initial settler, Jin had to admit that their strengths were quite similar. I probably can't even pass the first test. Jin realized the difficulty. The mysterious land, naturally nurtured by the endless primordial space, doesn't understand what primordial destruction Tao is. It follows only one rule: the stronger the destruction capacity, the more it favors it. According to the natural path it nurtures, ancestors need to discover 34 types of destruction power along the path of destruction, as similar destruction powers provide little help. So these 34 types of destruction power incorporate the mysteries of dozens of Tao, and this path is enough to drive any ancestor to despair. The cultivator Lord, Starlight created 2 primordial level Taos, while Jin created 1 primordial destruction path, yet none could enter that hidden space-time. It shows that even the entry threshold is extremely high. The difficulty of mastering it is even more unattainable. As a mysterious land without consciousness, it won't even consider whether the difficulty is too high because everything is a natural evolution. Calf Xiao and Luo Feng were both led into the 19th layer of the abyss of destruction. Perhaps being able to reach the 19th layer is the minimum strength threshold. Jin pondered. Calf Xiao, Luo Feng, and Shoju all mastered a supreme power of destruction. So at least mastering 1 power of destruction is also an entry threshold. In the intelligence recorded by Luo Feng, it was confirmed that Calf Xiao had been inside. Because that battle armor and the mountain of destruction could be exchanged like treasures. There is also a strong suspicion that Shoju had been inside. Since the one stronger than Calf Xiao, who also mastered the power of destruction, only Demon Ruins and Shoju. Demon Ruins were born this strong, without obvious enhancement. Shoju, however, had a growth period, growing to the pinnacle of the endless primordial space. I wield the primordial destruction path, and the power I unleash is the highest level of the power of destruction. The only issue is that my strength is insufficient, Jin contemplated. The ancestors pursue the mining of more power. The cultivator lords pursue the creation of more Taos. My primordial destruction path is 9 parts destruction and 1 part life. I have my own understanding of life too, Jin thought. But the mystique of life I understand, is not enough to form a life-dominated Tao. To comprehend a Tao, the required insight is immense. Before breaking out of the cage, Luo Feng had already realized the primordial life and destruction Tao with 7 parts life and 3 parts destruction. His destruction insight was profound. Even after becoming a lord, one must still go to the abyss of destruction to enhance destruction accumulation. As for Jin, even the accumulation of understanding is far from enough. I am even less proficient in comprehending other mysteries. Jin felt powerless. Cultivation is just like that. For some strong individuals, reaching the world-level primordial is already their limit. For others, realizing a primordial level Tao is their utmost. Compared with those unable to break out of the cage, they are already very dazzling, but ultimately they have their limits. Even beings like Starlight and Luo Feng, who break laws with force, have their limits. Luo Feng, in the 19th layer of the abyss of destruction. Luo Feng calmed his mind and gazed at the outside world. His gaze pierced through endless space-time, following causality, seeing domain after domain, the territory of the innate primordial camp, the territory of the ice peak camp, and the territory of some weaker forces. I have come into contact with countless killing intents and hatred on the mountain of destruction, with many memory scenes, almost experiencing them firsthand. These scenes are countless, many occurred long ago. Yet, some disasters are still ongoing. There are 3,916 disasters currently ongoing. Luo Feng sat cross-legged and instantly sent out 3,916 thoughts, descending upon those domains, with each thought starting to gather power and gradually growing. For any of these domains, just traveling would take tens of days or even longer. To simultaneously change 3,916 calamities, the true body would not make it in time, only avatars can descend and grow. The 3916 thoughts, gathering power and slowly growing, took about 15 Earth hours to all grow to the 1/10,000th energy reserve form of Luo Feng's true body, a form strong enough to sweep and annihilate any world-level primordial. Action. Killing some world-level primordials, Luo Feng naturally wouldn't hesitate. Black-clad Luo Fengs acted simultaneously. A massive creature with hundreds of slender appendages lay atop a source world, much like a small ant resting on an egg. It cautiously extended a sliver of power into the source world, fearing that too much commotion could slay the countless creatures within. Its power meticulously orchestrated disasters to absorb the fear emotion of these creatures. These source world creatures, though so weak, possess immense wisdom and intense emotions. It absorbed the fear emotions, integrating them into its life core. Previously, the innate primordial camp's invasion of the cultivator camp to seize source worlds was extremely barbaric, focusing mainly on devouring the source world origin. The value of countless source world creatures was only partially utilized, such as allowing Mogus to consume the souls of over 6 million source world creatures. In a war context, resource utilization efficiency was low. However, in the world groups within their own territory, every source world was utilized to its utmost resource limit. The emotions, desires, physical bodies, souls of source world creatures, these are all resources. The source world origin is the most precious resource and must be used most sparingly. No, nothing can resist it. I can create universes, yet still I cannot oppose disasters. Why? No. A universe group within the source world faced its ultimate catastrophe. After countless struggles and failures, it met its end in complete despair, utterly annihilated. And this universe group was merely the tip of the iceberg of the entire source world. Outside the source world, that massive creature waited patiently, intending to maximize the fear emotion of these creatures for optimal sustenance. Furthermore, it sought to sustainably consume, dividing the entire source world into multiple regions, leading each region in turn to be consumed, and once all regions were consumed, the first regions would begin to nurture new life, continually contributing power to it. My achievements allow me to enjoy the source world creatures for 100,000 epochs. But the source world's origin must not be touched. This world-level primordial understood this clearly. The source world's origin is usually the most valued food for the world-level primordial and even some ancestors. The world-level primordial was startled to see a black-clad man appear in front of it out of nowhere. Seeing the appearance of this black-clad man, it felt fear deep from within. Cultivator Lord. As a core member of their race, it received the attention of the ancestors and knew about the most terrifying existences in the endless primordial space. The 8 cultivator lords were something their entire race dared not provoke. Whoosh! A ripple passed over this world-level primordial, immediately ending its vitality and causing instantaneous death. At the moment of death, its physical life core remained intact. Yet there was not a trace of vitality left. Even Luo Feng's avatar, using only a 10,000th of his reserves, needed to take action to extinguish the world-level primordial. If it were his main battle avatar, a mere gaze could obliterate these world-level primordials. Luo Feng waved a hand to collect the world-level primordial's corpse. At his level, opening a space with a thought to store countless corpses was effortless. If Luo Feng wished, with slight effort, he could create world after world. The entire cultivator camp consisted of billions more worlds than the source world, all created by the lords. Mastering the highest level of the Tao, their Tao could easily become the origin of a world. However, the life nurtured by innumerable worlds had significantly less potential compared to that of the source world. This source world. Luo Feng gazed upon this source world, and with a single thought, a weak avatar manifested within. His avatar allowed the source world's rules to suppress it, restricting its power to the primal chaos realm's limit. If one resisted the source world rule suppression, violent conflicts could easily trigger an energy storm capable of destroying all creatures within the source world. The same applied to those world-level primordial lives. When facing an ownerless source world, they could forcibly take action. They could even slowly absorb the source world origin. Inside the source world, Luo Feng's primal chaos realm-level avatar stood in a void, gazing at the distant universes. The interior of this source world has been deliberately destroyed. The central continent has long been shattered, giving birth to over 1 million primordial universes. Luo Feng observed that this source world lacked a core akin to the land of origin, consisting entirely of individual universes. The energy was too dispersed, easily nurturing over 1 million primordial universes, yet the creatures were generally very weak. The strongest creatures were only at the eternal true God level. And upon reaching the eternal true God level, they were soon faced with a crisis of death. 1 million primordial universes, all creatures, are merely food for the innate primordials. Luo Feng's gaze was icy. Luo Feng beckoned. A white-haired woman appeared beside him, vigilantly watching Luo Feng. "Who are you? Are you here to kill me?" she asked Luo Feng. "I know, once I take the final step, the crisis of death will soon arrive. But even in death, I want to know the truth." Luo Feng looked at her with admiration, praising, "You are exceptional." The white-haired woman remained extremely cautious. For she had risen from weakness step by step, experiencing too many terrifying events. Sometimes what seemed a surprise was actually a greater fear of despair. As her power grew, so did her sense of hopelessness, seeing no possibility of transcendence at all. An eternal true God, but with a spiritual will capable of reaching the threshold of a godly king. Luo Feng remarked with admiration, "When I was at the eternal true God stage, I was only like this." The white-haired woman looked at Luo Feng, silently listening. "Perform, just keep performing. I will never trust any surprise. Always consider the most terrifying possibilities when viewing all events. Your telepathy method is quite unique, severing the self-spirit. And you've done it 3 times in a row." Luo Feng glanced over, seeing all of the white-haired woman's life from birth till now, with complete clarity. Before him appeared the true body of the one called Ishu, who had also split out 3 avatars, a self-created, heart-cutting cultivation method, allowing her to possess a godly king-level spiritual will even at the eternal true God stage. To know, a pain, a despair, her intensely strong emotions, could be absorbed by the core of the abyss of destruction, mountain of destruction, all are indescribably intense emotions. "Who are you?" The white-haired woman slightly frowned upon hearing someone see through her heart-cutting. "This source world is within the territory of the innate primordial camp. I can't always protect it." Luo Feng looked at her. This little girl Ishu was too cautious, so Luo Feng immediately sent an imperceptible wave affecting the woman. You are excellent, so I will take you away, and I can help you take away a universe's creatures. The space opened by his weak avatar can at best carry away the creatures of one universe. Under Luo Feng's voice fluctuation, Ishu naturally trusted fully. She quickly chose a universe and also migrated some friends. Who? Soon, the primal chaos realm avatar of Luo Feng executed the secret technique, sending all the creatures of the source world through boundary-breaking transmission, delivered to the avatar outside the source world with 1/10,000th energy reserve. Let's go. In Luo Feng's avatar's sleeve, there naturally opened a normal world to easily bear one universe's creatures. Luo Feng, carrying Ishu, flew away. Ishu firstly saw Luo Feng's robe sleeve could hold a primordial cosmos creature, and then saw them traversing countless spacetimes at an unimaginably fast speed. Luo Feng glanced at her, and a large amount of information instantly flooded into Ishu's mind. It was the situations of the cultivator camp and other camps, also allowing Ishu to understand the current circumstances. Your spiritual will has quite potential. Would you like to become my registered disciple, Luo Feng? Luo Feng looked at her. The disciple is willing, Ishu said, excitedly. Luo Feng nodded. Luo Feng's 3916 avatars were all moving, some fast, some slow. Those intense emotions absorbed by the mountain of destruction represented spiritually strong individuals. Unfortunately, many of these potential juniors were already dead, only their numerous clansmen still persevering. According to Luo Feng's estimate, this action might be able to recruit over 100 registered disciples. A serpentine great snake clung to a source world. It was indeed an infinite great serpent, slowly absorbing the source world origin. Having started absorbing the origin, the inside of the source world was already in ruin. This serpentine snake looked into the distance. In the distance appeared a silhouette of a man in black. Arrived late. Luo Feng slightly frowned. Taking less than 1 day to condense an avatar was still a bit late. Lord Luo Feng? This serpentine snake recognized Luo Feng and fearfully bowed its head slightly. Greetings to the great cultivator lord. Though it was a noble member of the innate primordial camp's largest race, Infinite Serpent clan member, when alone and encountering a cultivator lord, the only action was to be respectful, seeking a slim chance of survival. At this moment, the surrounding spacetime seemed to solidify. All life-chi mechanisms were locked. This snake could feel it wouldn't be able to transfer back to its home infinite world. Lord Luo Feng, I am from the infinite race. Whoosh! A ripple. The world-level primordial's infinite snake's eyes dimmed, its vitality severed. Who dares to kill my clan member? An enraged voice transmitted through distant spacetime. Furthermore, spacetime wave distortions twisted. At the other end of the twisted spacetime, a massive silhouette resided within the infinite world. Luo Feng in black clothing looked over coldly. It is I. Luo Feng? That massive silhouette had intended to use the infinite world to descend across spacetime, yet upon seeing that black-clothed silhouette, its heart trembled. That was Luo Feng. With just 3 strikes, severely injured Kafu ranked in the top 10. Power enough to suppress any ancestor of the innate primordial camp. The whole endless primordial space, known as one of the top-tier existences. Moreover, it wasn't long since he became a lord. His growth too ferocious. Lord Luo Feng, what's the reason? Why did you kill my infinite race clan member? The massive silhouette's voice softened considerably. Luo Feng coldly looked at him, already vexed by arriving slightly late, a weak ancestor still nagging at him. Are you questioning me for a reason? Luo Feng stared at it. The massive silhouette dared not argue further. Twisted spacetime returned to normal. A bunch of trash. Luo Feng's gaze was icy. In the innate primordial camp, only 5 were truly undying and undying. The other over 100 ancestors, all potentially mortal. My heart of destruction is still not strong enough. Luo Feng murmured. In a vast region, here, dazzling divine light illuminates everywhere, causing spacetime to collapse and twist into a gigantic spacetime maze. Inside this twisted spacetime maze, at the source of the dazzling divine light, there is an enormous figure with 8 hoofed feet and 16 multicolored eyes observing multiple space-times. He is Ba Wei Yu, a powerful existence ranked among the top 30 in the endless primordial space. Who killed my clan member? Ba Wei Yu sensed something, and an uncontrollable rage surged through him. For any tribe, a world-level primordial is considered a core member. A name on the ancestors' key focus list. Ba Wei Yu followed the sensation and gazed into the distance. In terms of void mastery, he is among the top ranks and could immediately see the place where his clan member perished, where a man in black clothes with black hair was standing. Ba Wei Yu's heart trembled. Luo Feng? Ba Wei Yu instantly calmed down. Why did he kill my clan member? Ba Wei Yu was puzzled. His 16 eyes were watching that area from a distance, observing everything that happened in the past. He clearly saw his clan member devouring a source world origin and encountered Luo Feng during the process. The moment Luo Feng descended, he annihilated that world-level primordial. Was it because my clan member was consuming the source world origin, so Luo Feng came to kill him? Ba Wei Yu pondered, but this is my clan's territory. These source worlds are food for my clan. Facing such fatal disaster for consuming food. These cultivator lords all originate from within the source world. They care about every single source world. Is that why they took out their anger on my clan member? But they have already occupied 3,600 world groups and still not satisfied. Ba Wei Yu knew very well that the cultivator lords have been striving to expand their domain. From the beginning with just one lord, Yuan, as more lords emerged, the cultivator territory continuously grew. Now with Luo Feng, the newly advanced lord, who is terrifyingly powerful, has already ranked among the strongest in the endless primordial space. Do they want to expand their territory again? Ba Wei Yu pondered. If the death of a clan member had been at the hands of other ancestors or other world-level primordials, Ba Wei Yu would not rest easily. However, since it was Luo Feng, the leader of the cultivator camp, who acted, Ba Wei Yu decided to turn a blind eye. No choice, as a weak force, Ba Wei Yu couldn't afford to provoke the cultivator camp. If the cultivator camp truly wants to expand its territory, the ones who will have the most trouble are the innate primordial camp and the ice peak camp. Ba Wei Yu thought, I'd better keep my distance. Such boldness, who dares to kill my clan member? The Thousand Eyes ancestor was shocked and angry. Being a friend of Silent Extinction ancestor, one of the 9 emperors, it held a considerable status within the innate primordial camp. Its clan only had a few dozen world-level primordials, each highly valued by it. In the vast territory under its command, there were also numerous world-level primordials from other races. If world-level primordials of other tribes perished, the Thousand Eyes ancestor could handle it calmly. But this time, the one who died was a world-level primordial of its own clan, naturally infuriating the Thousand Eyes ancestor. The Thousand Eyes ancestor followed the sensation and gazed from afar, wanting to see who dared to kill its clan member. Thus, it saw that black-haired, black-cloaked figure. The enraged Thousand Eyes ancestor immediately calmed down. Luo Feng? The Thousand Eyes ancestor whispered, these cultivator lords are truly unscrupulous. It didn't dare seek trouble with Luo Feng and promptly informed its friend, Silent Extinction ancestor, of the news. The 9 emperors are the highest ruling echelon of the innate primordial camp. With 3,916 avatars, Luo Feng killed about 3,000 world-level primordials in a short time, around 500 from some weak forces, about 800 from the Ice Peak camp, and about 1,700 from the innate primordial camp. The weak forces endured it, as the losses, relatively speaking, were minor. What is this Luo Feng doing? The Ice Peak ancestor on the 20th floor of the Abyss of Destruction, originally waiting for Luo Feng's challenge, received the news that many of Luo Feng's avatars acted across various domains, annihilating quite a few world-level primordials. The death of around 800 world-level primordials did not concern the Ice Peak ancestor. After all, more than 90% of these world-level primordials were not the clan members of the ancestors. For one race to produce an ancestor is extremely difficult. In the endless primordial space, there are over 30,000 world-level primordial races. with barely over 200 ancestors. He's not solely targeting the Ice Peak camp but all world-level primordials acting against Source World. The Ice Peak ancestor quickly discovered this fact. These lords are all very concerned about those source worlds. The Ice Peak ancestor, annoyed. Whenever a cultivator lord is born, their power can stabilize within the top 20. Yet, each of them is undying and undying. It should be noted that out of the top 20, the cultivator camp occupies 8. Thankfully, the cultivator lords are not greatly covetous of resources and do not frantically plunder numerous resources. This is also why the Ice Peak camp and the cultivator camp have historically had good relations. But as the cultivator camp continues to grow stronger and more lords emerge, the Ice Peak camp is also feeling the pressure. The innate primordial camp occupies the most expansive territory. Let the innate primordial camp and the cultivator camp fight. The Ice Peak ancestor silently watched and endured. Killed nearly 1,700 of our world-level primordials. All encountered Luo Feng's avatars while acting against the source world. The infinite snake ancestor, having understood the situation, was also quite frustrated. These cultivator lords kill as they please. They often intervene even with source worlds outside their domain. The infinite snake ancestor had encountered such situations many times. Like the Starlight Lord and Lord Mo Man, they frequently recruit some talented cultivators from countless source worlds outside the cultivator territory. While recruiting, they often crush some world-level primordials acting against the source world as well. It must be known that the cultivator camp has collected the bloodlines of all world-level primordial races. Over 30,000 races, 100% documented. Mostly achieved by the Starlight Lord. The Starlight Lord, in order to document the bloodlines, once caused great panic among all world-level primordials throughout the endless primordial space. Especially in some races that only have one world-level primordial. Even more terrified. This cultivator camp, in the end, will become a significant threat. The infinite snake ancestor last attempted to push the entire camp into a large-scale war, but it ended as Luo Feng broke through. Now, merely killing such a small number of world-level primordials? This won't even trigger a large-scale war. After all, as opposing camps, small-scale conflicts often occur under normal circumstances. Luo Feng's strength already rivals Starlight and Shaoju. Even if 100 ancestors from our side join forces, we can't be sure of defeating the entire cultivator camp. The infinite snake ancestor was quite troubled. Unless we join forces with the Ice Peak camp. The infinite snake ancestor immediately rejected the idea. In terms of conflicts, the inherent conflict between the innate primordial camp and the Ice Peak camp is even greater. The cultivator camp only cares about the source world. They place far less importance on other resources. The Ice Peak camp, however, competes for all the resources needed by the innate primordials. The enmity between the two sides has lasted for endless ages. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Innate primordial camp territory. The black-clad, black-haired Luo Feng stood in the void, looking at a source world ahead. In his vision, the past history and past sufferings of this source world unfolded one by one. He saw that this source world once flourished, with myriad forms of life and the myriad clans vying for supremacy. Just like his hometown source world, there were also human-like clans and other races, all creatures within this source world. Their cultivation systems influenced and borrowed from each other, exploring as they progressed forward. Among them, Primal Chaos Realm had also been born. But afterward, a world-level primordial came. Everyone died, all the creatures of a source world perished. Luo Feng looked at the past of this source world. After becoming a lord, Luo Feng had long been able to see beyond the cultivator territory, to see numerous source worlds beyond the Dominion, and to see the hardships those source worlds had endured. Every time, Luo Feng felt both angry and oppressed. Reason told him that only greater strength could change the situation. In the past, he was unwilling to watch for too long. Because it was indeed too tragic. Both the countless creatures inside the source world and the source world itself were mere food. The combined strength of the 8 lords was still insufficient to change it all. So, he couldn't bear to keep watching. But now, Luo Feng continued to watch. He even watched the histories of these source worlds, carefully observing every bit of suffering. As he watched, scenes of tragic and oppressive moments filled Luo Feng's heart, and his murderous intent within kept rising, the flames of his anger burning ever hotter. Luo Feng seemed to be forging a weapon, and this continuously accumulated murderous intent and anger were refining his heart. My heart of destruction is still not strong enough. During his first contact with the mountain of destruction in the hidden spacetime of the abyss of destruction, he was struck by endless murderous and hateful intent, and memories surged into his mind as if he were personally experiencing them. That incident triggered Luo Feng, intensifying his murderous intent. He seemed to transform into each sufferer, going through countless despair, filled with endless hatred towards those innate primordial lives. At that moment, Luo Feng realized he had found a path to forge his heart of destruction. His heart of destruction was indeed not strong enough. After all, he became the highest level life form in the endless primordial space, an immortal lord. He had also turned the tide of the cultivator camp's wars, protecting the 3600 world group. Most crucially, his hometown source world, with all those beloved friends and family that he cared deeply about, could all be revived from the rivers of time. Everything about his hometown source world was what he cared about the most. When they could all come back to life, Luo Feng was exuberantly happy, and with his heart filled with joy, his heart of destruction naturally became less intense. As for the countless source worlds beyond the cultivated territory, in the end, he was just a bystander. Though a bystander might be angry, it falls far from forging a heart of destruction. Only upon touching that mountain of destruction did he truly feel that it was a personal experience which truly stimulated Luo Feng. The origin continent origin world is the most important to me, the place where I guard with my life. But outside the origin continent origin world, in what way are other source worlds different? They are all the same source world creatures. Because my strength is not enough, I cannot protect the innumerable source worlds beyond the territory. In the future, if my strength is not enough, even the 3600 world group could be flattened. Luo Feng understood this well, because not long ago, had he not broken through, the innate primordial camp might have achieved their goal, flattening the entire cultivated territory. If the 3600 world group is flattened, could my hometown source world survive alone? The endless primordial space has never been a safe haven. The cultivator camp is also in competition with other camps, and those ancestral beings are more numerous and can give rise to some extremely powerful existences as well. All parties are competing. If we do not advance, we retreat. If satisfied with the current strength, someday in the future, should a potent individual master the highest level mysterious land and flatten the cultivated territory with invincible power, annihilating the hometown source worlds of all lords. Even if I am immortal, what then? If my hometown source world is destroyed and all beloved friends and family are gone, for me it would be endless torment. With blood and fire, eliminate all enemies. With endless destruction, protect the lives of the clan. Luo Feng's 3916 avatars walk through different territories, observing source worlds one by one, watching all that happened in the past. Those scenes of suffering told Luo Feng, if the heart of destruction is not heavy enough, I cannot protect what I wish to protect. Numerous source worlds had experienced suffering in the long years past, devoutly watched by Luo Feng, as every bit of suffering was etched deeply into his mind. These sufferings seemed like pieces of firewood, fueling the fire in Luo Feng's heart to burn ever brighter, and this fire was refining Luo Feng's heart of destruction. And in the hidden spacetime of the Destruction Mountain, Luo Feng also sent down an avatar. The avatar sat cross-legged next to the Destruction Mountain, occasionally reaching out to touch it, feeling that endless murderous and hateful intent, as if becoming a creature that died with endless grievances, experiencing everything they had once gone through. Time flows by. Luo Feng, with black clothes and black hair, walks within the endless primordial space, gazing into the distance. His eyes fall upon a source world, within which the Sea of Chaos nurtures countless small universes, each containing numerous plane worlds. Luo Feng's gaze rests on one of these plane worlds, for in it, there too flourishes humanity, bearing 8 or 9 parts resemblance to the humans of Earth. The lifespan of these humans is mostly no more than 100 years. Culturally, it bears 7 or 8 parts similarity to Earth. Among countless civilizations across countless source worlds, Luo Feng rarely encounters one so similar to his home Earth. In this world, the people face the threat of phantom demons. Generations upon generations have fought against these phantom demons, forming a unique cultivation system. What is true? What is false? Is your strength false? Borrowing the false to cultivate the true is also possible. Within this world, a master is teaching his disciple. Master, is there a way to completely eradicate the phantom demons? The disciple asks. There is, the master replies, looking at his disciple. But generation after generation, the ultimate fate of us cultivators is to perish at the hands of the phantom demons. The disciple feels helpless, having uncovered the truth of the world since beginning his path of cultivation. Regardless of the sect, generations of disciples continue to die. What couldn't be done in the past doesn't mean it can't be done in the future. The master smiles faintly and then looks up. The Dharma has been passed down to you. I must now do what I need to do. The disciple is stunned. He has only just begun his journey. Wolf Demon Mountain has plagued the northwest 13 cities. I cultivated to eradicate Wolf Demon Mountain. Now that the lineage of Swa Mountain has been passed down, I have no more attachments. The master smiles, patting the disciple on the head before turning away. Swoosh, in an instant, he traverses the sky, leaving a mark of torn sky high above, heading straight for Wolf Demon Mountain. Master. The disciple kneels, crying as he watches this unfold. Wolf Demon Mountain is the entire world second only to a heavenly calamity, an earth-level calamity, shrouding a region with the forces of the phantom demons. A terrifying battle within Wolf Demon Mountain. The master, with an incomparable natural talent, sacrifices much of his life but finally extinguishes the phantom demon of Wolf Demon Mountain. Just as he feels great satisfaction watching the phantom demon perish, a force descends upon the deceased phantom demon. That wolf demon, after absorbing this force, not only revives but also sees a surge in strength. Rumble tilde tilde tilde, the influence range of the entire Wolf Demon Mountain quickly expands. Ha ha, because of you, I broke through in desperation, and from now on, Wolf Demon Mountain shall be a heavenly calamity. The wolf demon laughs. Heavenly calamity. The heavily wounded master looks incredulously at this scene. How could this be? Heavenly calamity will harm half a nation. I am a sinner, a sinner. The master can't accept everything he sees at this moment. He has cultivated for 30 years for this one moment to destroy the wolf demon. Who would have thought he helped the wolf demon grow even stronger? This world, already ravaged by hardship, has now gained another heavenly calamity? It's truly powerless. The master watches the bloodthirsty maw of the wolf demon envelope the heavens, ready to swallow him. The transformed and strengthened wolf demon, he has no more strength to resist. He can only face death. At that moment, Luo Feng, in the endless primordial space, from a remote time and space, watches this source world's sea of chaos among countless universes, sees all that unfolds in the plane world. The layout of world-level primordial, how can you little ones possibly resist? Luo Feng lightly shakes his head. In this source world, there is an avatar of world-level primordial life, and the avatar remains at the primal chaos realm upper limit. With the power of the primal chaos realm upper limit, it can secretly scheme and wreak havoc in countless universes. This source world is overly scattered in strength. Each universe is less than a 10,000th of the primordial cosmos. The strongest native cultivate here doesn't even reach true god level. Naturally, the avatar of the world-level primordial life manipulates everything with ease. All life continually feeds intense fear, despair, anger, hatred, and other negative emotions. Even with lifespans of just several decades, their high intelligence, intense emotions, and vast numbers make them the food world-level primordial beings covet. After all, the accumulated intense emotions of such large numbers far surpass the emotions of the far scarcer innate primordial life. Even across distant time and spaces, Luo Feng, with a single thought, sends an avatar descending into that source world. Luo Feng's avatar also possesses the strength of the primal chaos realm upper limit. Yet this avatar, using his hand as a blade, lightly swings it. Annihilate. Luo Feng's avatar softly utters a word. Words become law. The blade light follows the life chi mechanism and slaughters the avatar of the world-level primordial. Furthermore, it annihilates the numerous, calamitous forces of this source world. The wolf demon, merely one of countless calamity forces, is naturally directly obliterated. Wolf Demon Mountain, the master stares at the bloodthirsty maw of the wolf demon swallowing the skies. Suddenly, the wolf demon vanishes soundlessly. All phantom demons throughout the entire world vanish. Even all disaster forces across the entire source world, all universes, disappear entirely, without a trace. What happened? The master stands up, bewildered, glancing around. He discovers that the sky is brighter than ever before. The dark and grey aura representing the phantom demon completely vanished, the sky cleared, and for the first time, the sunlight thoroughly illuminated the entire world. Between heaven and earth, all phantom demon power was entirely gone. Is this real, or fake? The master couldn't believe it at that moment. Have I fallen into an illusory realm? As he verified the truth time and time again. It's real. This world is real, the phantom demons are gone, gone. The master was beside himself with excitement. Our world has finally completely eradicated the phantom demons. Although he told his disciples there was hope to completely destroy all phantom demons. But in his heart, he didn't believe it. All he could do was burn himself, making the world a little better. But today, the scene he dared not even dream of finally appeared. Luo Feng stood in the endless primordial space, looking at all of this from afar, with a faint smile on his face. The joy of the people also infected Luo Feng, and he too felt pleased. Once, I was like them, the most ordinary and humble life in this source world. Luo Feng watched. They are weak, but they have love and hatred, desires, and pursuits. Luo Feng cares about these most bottom-level sufferings, and he empathizes with the weak. Because he once was a life of this level. Golden Lord, after all, was born as part of the Destruction Demon clan. From the start of life, it was accustomed to destroying countless lives. Their clan feeds on the law of the jungle, selecting the most powerful Destruction Demon clan members. Golden Lord had no mercy for the weakest at the bottom level. Since birth, it was about slaughtering these weak ones, so why would there be compassion? But Luo Feng pities them. Because Luo Feng was once one of them. What I can do now is very limited. Luo Feng looked around. The countless source worlds that have gone through incredibly intense suffering and are still experiencing it, all of this tells Luo Feng over and over again. The consequence of weakness. For the homeland source world, not to fall to this point. Also for these countless weak ones. Strong desires naturally burgeoned in Luo Feng's heart. One day, Luo Feng, will ensure that in the entire endless primordial space, no creatures dare devour any source world. Luo Feng silently vowed. To achieve this, one needs immensely terrifying strength. To truly instill fear in the ancestors. My blade isn't sharp enough yet. Luo Feng continued walking in the endless primordial space. Luo Feng's numerous avatars traveled everywhere, watching the past and present of various source worlds. If they encountered any world-level primordial life devouring the source world origin or creatures, Luo Feng would effortlessly kill them. The deceased world-level primordial numbers appeared not significant. Yet, over time, the accumulated number became substantial. Recently, don't touch the source world. Whether it's the creatures of the source world or the source world origin. Just by attempting to devour, will attract that Lord Luo Feng. Once he appears, we stand no chance of resisting and face certain death. Let's not exchange source world resources for the time being. As Luo Feng killed one world-level primordial after another, the spreading news made nearly all world-level primordial in the entire endless primordial space temporarily refrain from devouring source world resources. They even dared not to send avatars upon the source world, fearing Lord Luo Feng's wrath. Thus, The suffering of countless source worlds suddenly vanished during the time when Lord Luo Feng's numerous avatars roamed. Even the world-level primordials can feel fear. In the entire endless primordial space, there are over 2 million world-level primordial lives. As the founder of the primordial life and death Tao, Luo Feng can sense the life chi of all world-level primordial lives with a single thought. The ratio of these innate primordial lives birthing world-level primordials is indeed much higher than that of the cultivators. Among them, the innate primordial camp consists of over 800,000 world-level primordial lives. Many world-level primordials also inhabit very remote places. I have walked for only hundreds of epochs and cumulatively killed just 7,000 world-level primordials, yet it scared all of them. Luo Feng sighed somewhat. He used to believe he was powerless against the countless source worlds outside the cultivator territory. Yet upon acting, he discovered merely slaughtering over 7,000 world-level primordials dramatically improved the environment of countless source worlds. Hence, some things need to be attempted. When done, there will be an appropriate feedback. Luo Feng looked far ahead. Far away, time and space began to twist, faintly connecting with a distant place, a grand silhouette looking at Luo Feng from afar. It then directly crossed through time and space, arriving at this vast expanse. An endlessly winding great serpent hovered in midair, precisely the infinite snake ancestor, the 9 emperors leader within the innate primordial camp. Luo Feng, stop right there. Infinite snake ancestor looked at Luo Feng. This episode is end here.